Hello friends, welcome back. This is episode number 2 in Domain 2 and we are doing a continuation of what we discussed in our last episode. And our specific topic of discussion today will be NIST 888, which is media sanitization techniques as recommended by NIST. So let's go to the drawing desk, and this is my drawing. This is what we discussed last time, that what are the assets, how we classify data, and accordingly we classify assets, and the asset classification should match data classifications. There are two different approaches to classify data. One is sensitivity driven classification and another is criticality driven classification. So most of the government organization go for sensitivity driven classification, right? And criticality driven classification is mostly in the private sector or in companies, manufacturing, service companies, those kind of thing. We also discussed that data states could be of in three types: data at rest, data in motion, and data in storage. And data at rest, which is data in storage, basically data in motion and data in use, right? So what are the common techniques we deploy there? In data at rest, we use AES 256. If the data is in motion, as in it is passing through some network, passing through firewall or anything, or is it if it is in the internet, going from one location to another location, we use transport layer security, which is a combination of symmetric and asymmetric technique. Data in use, basically when your data is in the RAM, mostly we don't use any encryption there. We rely on the other compensating control or other techniques so that it's not getting exploited. Or even if we want to encrypt it, we use homomorphic encryption. Now, how we add data to the classified network, we discussed briefly about IRTC compliance and security controls. We discussed about air gap, which is basically a concept where we do not have any type of connection, physical connection or logical connection between two networks which are not of same classification. So unclassified and classified are totally separated, and that kind of thing is called air gap system. It could be a laptop as well, or it could be a server. So the point to remember is that this is just a concept. Now, when we look into DLP, a DLP system can't decrypt data or examine encrypted data. This is something which is very critical. We should understand. DLP could be network-based DLP, and the cloud-based DLP is just like network-based DLP. And the other type of DLP is endpoint-based DLP. So endpoint-based DLP and network-based DLP both have this capability of content discovery, and the content discovery happens on a specific tags or specific labels which we kind of let the DLP system learn. We manually feed it, or we scan it and we select what all critical or what all important tags and classification they have to look into it to make a decision. So DLP content discovery actually searches and discover any unauthorized data. It can search cloud resources used by organization. So this is what the DLP is. This topic is not too difficult, and the questions asked around DLP are very straightforward, so I will not invest much time in there. Now, when it comes to data handling, there are different terms we should be aware of: data marking, handling data, data collection, and data destruction. So today I'm gonna discuss data destruction technique, and this is basically a review of NIST SP 888. So we'll go straight into this document and see what this document talks about when it comes to data destruction, right? So before I go there, I would like to put some time here on common data destruction method. So These methods are erasing, clearing or overwriting, purging, decausing, and destruction. So erasing is a simple right click and delete an empty trash bin. That kind of activity is called erasing. But when you erase data on a hard disk or any storage media, it is possible to retrieve data. So it's not that secure. It's kind of secure in a way that if there is a virus or a malware, it will not be able to exploit erased data. But there are techniques, a specific software which can be used to even retrieve the data which is deleted from the perspective of operating system. So that's erasing. Clearing and overwriting is basically uh, it's a deep eraser, a deep eraser you can say, right? So whenever we use the term clearing or purging, so these two terms is used when we are having this intention that the media is going to be reused. So what is clearing? Clearing is a process of preparing media for reuse. It's not possible to recover using traditional recovery tool, but it is possible to recover using sophisticated laboratory and forensic tool. So if we have specific softwares, even we can retrieve data which is cleared or overwritten. Now, what is purging? Purging is more intense clearing, right? It is also a preparation of media for reuse, but the intention here is why we do purging is because let's think about the situation like you have a top secret environment and you want to use the hard disk or the storage media into a different system in the same top secret environment. So you don't have to go for purging. You can just do clearing and use that media in the same classification level. But if you are using a media which was in a classified network, maybe a secret classification, and that media is going to be used into a less classification or let's say unclassified network or or something which is less than sensitive, right? The lesser security classification environment basically. In that case, you go for purging. So if you are degrading the classification, then you have to use purging. So this thing you have to keep in mind to from examinations point of view, that if you are using a media and you want to use at the same classification level, erasing can do the job. But if you are using a classification level which is lower than the classification level of the media, you have to use purging. Degaussing is used for magnetic media, and destruction, we know destruction, like you have to physically destroy it. There is a specific a specification given by NIST, which is again covered in NIST 888. Then you will see that what are the NIST recommended way to destroy data. So these are the different techniques we should know. These techniques are explained very well in NIST documentation. I will recommend to read this NIST 888. This is one of the NIST document which is going to be very helpful in your CISSP exam. The other important documents are NIST 853, NIST 853A, NIST 839 and 830. Like these NIST documents, I have explained a little bit about it, and whatever thing you should know for exam is already covered in my video, which is in domain 1, video number 39, 40 and 41. I think you can refer, and you'll come to know about these documents. But here in domain 2, NIST 888. Now I will go straight away into the NIST document and will show you how you can read it and what important information you should be knowing from the document. So here is NIST 888 revision 1 document, and if you see the content, so we go into the purpose and scope. It says that why this document is prepared, who are the audience, assumption, usual stuff, and this section is very important. in all NIST documentation, this section relationship to other NIST documents, we should at least have a look into it and see what all other documents are helpful in understanding this document. So FIPS 199 and NIST 860 revision 1, this is for this is a guide for mapping types of information system to security categories. So this is what we discussed in my documents, this classification, right? US government and non-government organization, right? This classification, we can refer this document here. Again, this is not something which is very helpful in exam questions. You can skip that if you like. FIPS 200 is minimum security requirement for federal information system. This is for federal. So wherever FIPS come, like F is you can um, you can have this in mind. It mostly is for federal system. Now FIPS 142 is security requirement for cryptographic modules. NIST 853 I already said, it's in my past video, I've explained it. This is for the minimum recommended security controls. This includes sanitization for federal system based on their overall system security categorization. Now 853A, wherever A comes, it's basically assessment. So whatever we implement in 853, its assessment is covered in 853A. 800 is guide to storage encryption technologies for end user device. So 111 is for end user device, right? You can form some sort of image for that, just to have this in mind. Again, it's not going to be asked in your exam what is this internet 111, but if you know it, it's good to have this information to sound more, what do you call, intelligent in discussions and all. NIST CISSP 800-122 is a guide to protecting the confidentiality of PII. I have already referenced this 880-122 when I was basically showing this diagram here, that the sensitive data basically covers PII, PHI, and proprietary data, and PII is covered here. So you can see this number 800-122. Now these are the helpful documents you should know. Now the other things are also very important to study, to build the knowledge base. I'm not going to read it out for the sake of keeping my video short. You can refer the types of media: hard copy, electronic copy. What are the trends in digital data storage media? We all know, if we are tech savvy, what are the trends in digital data storage media, trends in sanitization, and types of sanitization. So these are the things which we have already discussed: clear, purging, and destroy. Basically, it talks about these important categories, right? So we already saw what is clearing, what is purging, what is destruction. What is not included here is the simple delete, which is erase, and degaussing here, right? So this is more a classification based on the principle, I will say, but you know, Cybex 9th edition book is more detailed, so that's why they have this whole terminology, so that we are aware of it. Now, use of cryptographic eraser. Cryptographic eraser is basically if the data is having if the disk is having encrypted data and you can't delete it, it always asks for encryption key and you don't have the key, you can go for cryptographic eraser. Or even if the data is plain text, we can use cryptographic eraser. This is very common in the cloud domain. Yeah, so this is what cryptographic eraser is. They use the term CE all the time for this. Now, roles and responsibilities, this is also very self-explanatory. You don't have to go into much details, and to my experience, questions from who is doing what is not going to be asked in CISSP exams. What is the important topic basically here is I will come directly to that, which is decision making. Yeah, so this section 4, which is information sanitization disposition decision making. This is the main thing. You can go directly to this figure 4.1. Now, to understand this flow chart, these are the three security categorization, and the diamond box says that if the media is leaving my organization or not, right? Now, if it is low security categorized data or media, if it is leaving the organization's control, then what we do, we just do a purging, and purging is basically intense clearing, as I explained here. And after purging, we validate and document. This is the usual flow for low categorization media. But if it is not, if it is going to be in the same organization or same classification level, we can just do clearing and reuse the data, reuse the media. Sorry for that. When I say data and media, take it in the same spirit, but saying media is more appropriate here. If for the moderate categorization, if you are going to reuse the media, and if it is leaving the organization, then we have to do the purge. So look here, like when in the low categorization, if it is leaving the organization, we do purging. In the case of medium, if we are leaving the organization, we are doing the purging, right? And in the high categorization also, if it is not leaving the organization, then we also use purging. But high categorized data cannot leave the organization. The only thing we have to do is to destroy the data which is here, right? So this is a key point you have to keep in mind for highly categorized media. If the media is going outside the organization, it has to be destroyed using NIST 822 recommendation, which is that recommendation is somewhere in the appendix, right? Which I will come there. So for medium, if it is not, if we are not gonna use the media, we have to go for destruction. And if we are using the media, and if it is in the same organization, we have to use clear. You know, if you look into this chart, you will have this feeling that we are favoring data purging if it is low and medium, and if it is leaving the organization. If it is not, we are basically using the clear method, right? This you can have in your memory to answer some of the difficult question which is framed based on this flow chart. But for high categorized data, whatever the case be, if it is leaving the organization, it has to be destroyed. So this is important, and we should know it. If you know it, like, then you can answer most of the questions framed around this. Yeah, so this is very important. Like, this table is kind of, I find it kind of funny, but this is important for paper and microforms. What is they recommend, like what should be the size of destructed paper. Basically, you can see here 1 mm by 5 mm in size or less. And then for networking devices, this is my background. I used to do a lot of networking. What we should do when it comes to clear, purge, destroy, what are the methods. You see, for Apple iPhone, it gives basically the recommendation setting general reset. So these things we should refer when we are preparing for CISSP. This is very important. I hope this video was useful, and if you like this video, put a thumbs up, and you can share the video, and see you in the next video.